Hello and welcome to this course. We are going to go over the interface of Rhino. Now I'm using Rhino 8. If you're using a different version, some of the things I'm going to show you may be different for you. So let's first open up Rhino. You can see it here in front of me. And we have a few different parts to Rhino. The most noticeable ones are these four windows that we've got in the front here, and these are your four viewport windows. We've got three orthographic. We've got a top, front, right, and then we've also got a perspective view. Each time I click on one of these tabs, it's going to make that the active viewport, and I've just changed the color here to a cyan color so you can see that a little bit more noticeably. I can maximize each of these viewports by double clicking that tab, and that's going to make that full screen. And from here I can come down to the bottom left and flick between these different viewports as well. If I want to get the four of them back, just double click on that tab again, and you can see we've got them back there. The other things you can see here are our toolbars. So I've got one toolbar across the top here, and each of these tabs contains different tools. We've also got this toolbar here to the left, and again there's some different commands and tools there. We have a way of accessing those tools from our menus up the top here. We can get all of the same tools through there. We have a command line, and if we start typing, we can type commands straight into Rhino. For example, a sphere. And I can just press enter, and that's going to give me my sphere command. And from here I can start. Command just to see if you need some more help. Again, sphere, I can type in that. Select that sphere, and you can see that we have some help here for the sphere about how to use the sphere command. Each command that we run can be accessed by one of those three different ways. So the first one is to find the applicable icon. For example, if we want a box, we can come over to the left here and choose this box icon. If you hover over that, that'll tell you a little bit more about what the command is and what it does. If it's got one of these little black arrows in the bottom right, we can click on that black arrow, and that's going to pop out some more options for different commands. And again, we've got some further arrows here that we can pop out, and a whole bunch of different icons. This can be a little bit overwhelming, and it's perhaps not the most intuitive way of finding what you're after. Another way would be to, sometimes you can find these same icons up the top here. For example, if I want a solid tool, then you can see we've got some different options here, and again we've got more of these options for the box and the sphere, etc. If we do want this box, we can click on that, and then looking up in the command, you can see that the name of this command is box, which kind of makes sense. And a lot of Rhino is quite intuitive, and a lot of the commands are very common sense. So for this box, it's going to ask us for the first corner of the base, and I can select in either of these four viewports. I'll start from the top here, and then I want the update checked, and the help has changed from a sphere, which was our previous command, into a box. So whatever command that we use in Rhino, that is going to update in our help panel if this option is checked. So that's a nice easy way of getting the additional information about some of those commands that you might not be quite sure about. Let's have a look how we can better see what's going on in our scene. At the moment, our display view is set to wireframe. So all we're seeing are these lines here, which are creating the box. If I hit this little down arrow next to perspective, you can see we've got different options for our viewport and how it shades our object in the viewport. So we are set to wireframe. I can change that to shaded. And now you can see that we've got a better indication of what we are building in our window. We can come over here and change to something like rendered. It's not going to be too helpful at the moment. We've got ghosted, and ghosted is my preferred way of working in these orthographic viewports. If I right click in, say, this front viewport, then Rhino is going to rerun the previously run command. And our previous command was to set this from wireframe to ghosted. So again, if I right click, it's just going to run that again. And that's a quick way of initiating commands quite rapidly. So we've got shaded, ghosted, ghosted, and ghosted. There's a little bit of transparency. You can start to see that background grid there. The way that we can move around this scene and navigate this scene is by using a combination of mouse buttons and the Shift, Control, and Alt keys. If I am in the perspective viewport, I'll make that active. Then by right-clicking and dragging, I can rotate around a point in our 3D space. If I hold down Shift and right-click, we can pan from one side to the other. I've got a mouse wheel, so I can zoom out and zoom in. And I can also hold down Control and right-click, and that's going to zoom out and zoom in. Generally, I just use my mouse wheel to zoom out and zoom in. But if you don't have a mouse wheel, you can certainly hold down Control and right-click. So I've got Shift to pan, right-click to rotate, and Control right-click to zoom. Now in these three orthographic viewports, we can't rotate around this, so we just hold down right click and that's going to pan. And again, we can still zoom in and zoom out by holding down Control. It's just we don't rotate when we right click and drag, we pan when we right click and drag. In our perspective, it's Shift, right click and drag to pan. Otherwise you'll rotate. If I want to select an object in our scene, I just need to come and click on it using the left mouse button. That yellow outline indicates that it is selected. And if I click away into a blank space, I can deselect it. I can also press Escape and that will deselect whatever is currently selected. We can also select by using what's called a crossing box. And if I cross from left to right, and our box covers the object entirely, then that object will be selected. If I cross from right to left and I only partly select an object, then it will not be selected. Crossing from left to right, the entire object needs to be in our selection box for it to be selected. If I cross from right to left, going the other way, then all I need is part of that object to be in our selection box and the entire object will be selected. So left to right, I need the entire object in our box. Right to left, I need part of the object in our selection box. And that's called our crossing selections. Another selection method that we can use, and it's not too frequent and not too common, but it is called sub-selecting. Now our cube here is made up of 6 sides. And if I hold down Control and Shift and then click, you can see that I have sub-selected for just one face of this cube. And I can do the same. I can click on one of these edges and I've subselected one of those edges. I can also click on one of these vertices where these lines meet. And we're going to have some options here. And you can see that top one there is a vertex. So again, by holding Control and Shift, I can subselect different parts of our object. Okay, let's have a break here. In the next video, I will go over a few more of the Rhino settings and some of these panels here which are on the right.